Hello everyone! Today's masterclass will focus on Edmund Spenser's The Faerie Queen, an epic poem. Don't worry, we're not going to read it together because that would take around 16 and a half hours and I don't think YouTube allows me to record videos that long. Let's take a closer look at the writer and the poem. Are you ready? Let's do this! Okay, where to begin? Let us start with the man himself, Mr. Edmund Spenser.
Edmund Spenser was one of the best known English poets during the Renaissance. He was born in 1552 or 1553. Don't worry, his mom was not in labour for a year, they just did not know his exact day or year of birth. He died on the 13th of January 1599. His tomb is next to that of Geoffrey Chaucer in Westminster Abbey, so you could do worse. Edmund Spenser came from humble background, but was able to study at Pembroke College in Cambridge. He published his first poem in 1579. He was successful enough to obtain a life pension of £50 a year from Queen Elizabeth I. He probably hoped to secure a place at court through this poetry, but his next significant publication boldly provoked the Queen's principal secretary, and this was the end of his rise to fame at the English court. His irony was apparently a little bit too risque or visible.
Spenser's way with words are legendary to this day. He even has his own Wikipedia term. Let's find out more.
Before we discuss the Spenserian stanza, it might be handy to know what the word stanza means, huh? Well, the dictionary says the following: a group of lines forming the basic recurring metrical unit in a poem, a verse. Edmund Spenser's stanza is special because he was the first poet to use 9 lines in his verse. That's why we call it the Spenserian stanza. As I already said, each stanza uses 9 lines, using a rhyme scheme in a A-B, A-B-B, C-B-B-C pattern. In other words, the A's rhyme with the A's, etc., etc. These 9 lines also use a different pattern. The first 8 lines have an iambic pentameter and the last line uses an iambic hexameter. If you don't know what the word iambic means, that's totally fine. The iambic sets the rhythm and pace. It sounds a bit like a heartbeat. Da-dum, 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 da-dum. So you know which words to focus on. In Edmund Spenser's The Faerie Queen, you can see and hear how the Spenserian stanza works.
Lo, I, the man whose muse whilom did mask, as time her taught, in lowly shepherd's weeds, am now enforced a far unfitter task, for trumpets stern to change mine oaten reeds, and sing of knights and ladies' gentle deeds, whose praises, having slept in silence long, me all too mean, the sacred muse areeds to blazon broad amongst her learned throng. Fierce wars and faithful loves shall moralize my song.
The title of this poem is The Faerie Queen. The title sounds a bit like one of those really cool new fantasy TV shows streaming on a device near you. But what is the poem about? Let's find out.
Time to focus on this epic masterpiece. The first 3 books of The Faerie Queen were published in 1590, and the second set of 3 books were published in 1596. Edmund Spenser actually wanted to write and publish 12 books, so even though the poem has 36,000 lines and over 4,000 stanzas, the poem itself is incomplete. The poem was composed during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I. The Faerie Queen is dedicated to the monarch who inherited a reformed England and who, during her 45-year reign, transformed a small northern island into a world power. The Faerie Queen is set in fairyland, but is of course about England. The poem focuses on Arthurian knights in an examination of several virtues. Virtues are behaviour showing high moral standards. In Spenser's A Letter of the Authors, he states that the entire epic poem is cloudily enwrapped in allegorical devices, and that the aim behind the Faerie Queen was to fashion a gentleman or noble person in virtuous and gentle discipline. The knights in the poem include 5 men and 1 woman, all in armour and all on quests to make the world a better place. The knights were linked to the following virtues: holiness, temperance, chastity, friendship, justice, and courtesy. The Faerie Queen is an allegoric romance. What now? Well, an allegory is a type of story which carries a second meaning along with its surface meaning. You have to read between the lines to get the extra meaning. An allegoric romance is, quote, symbolizing the moral and spiritual journey of an individual through innumerable temptations of sins towards the ultimate attainment of glory and truth. The poem thus has a serious purpose behind its fanciful characters, settings, and events. The knights and their quests linked to their virtues in the Faerie Queen fit in perfectly. Let's look at 3 examples. The knight from the first book is called the Red-Crossed Knight. The Red-Crossed Knight is linked to holiness and true religion. The Red Cross symbolizes Christianity, and the colour red represents the blood of Christ. Lady Una symbolizes truth and wisdom, and the foul dragon can be linked to evil that needs to be defeated. Hence the quest. When we fast forward a couple of centuries, we can see that Spenser's The Faerie Queen is still popular today. Rumour has it that Star Wars episodes 4, 5 and 6 were based on the first book. George Lucas has mentioned before that his inspiration for the Jedi Knights came from concepts of knighthood and chivalry in feudal societies. Luke Skywalker does assume a position as a classic knight, trading in a sword for a really cool lightsaber. A young farm boy who is called to rescue Princess Leia from Darth Vader. By the end of the trilogy, the Death Star has been destroyed, the Empire is defeated, and Luke views the smiling spirits of Obi-Wan, Yoda, and his father, who all died during the trilogy. Truly a work whose major theme surrounds the battle between good and evil, the Star Wars trilogy also incorporates inner spirituality into its plot, namely the Force. It is having faith in the Force which gives Luke the strength to face his enemies. Red Cross, much like Luke, has to trust in a spiritual force when he fights. In his first battle with the monster Error, Una tells Red Cross, "Add faith unto your force, and be not faint." This is incredibly similar to Obi-Wan Kenobi's famous line to Luke, "May the Force be with you."
Okay, to be totally honest, I'm all in. Let's organise a reading marathon, then buy the TV rights and start producing a very cool TV show taking at least 6 seasons, talking about all the knights and their virtues. But before we do so, I first want you to take a look at your worksheet and start doing those exercises. Good luck. Also, don't forget to like, love, laugh, subscribe, follow, and all those things you do on social media. I really appreciate it. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Bye. Today's masterclass is all about, I don't know, who is it about?